Hi everybody, it's Gia. Welcome to my channel. Or if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. So if you've been following my channel for a bit, you will kind of know the backstory of my channel, where I stepped away from regular employment for a couple of years just to kind of like reevaluate everything, and in the meantime survived on savings and a little bit of passive income coming in. And as you will know, this channel is all about saving money on a low income. So about a month ago, I decided to go back into regular employment. So I'm in casual employment at the moment, and my job is not a set amount of hours. So week to week, I am not sure how much will be coming in, but I have a pretty good idea. But it is still below the average minimum wage in Australia. So I've had quite a few people asking how I'm able to not only survive on this amount, but also to be saving money at the same time. Because a lot of people at the moment are struggling with cost of living, and in Australia it is really, really hard at the moment. So I thought I would compile a list of 10 things that I do to not only survive on a below minimum wage income, but also thrive and save money at the same time. It's completely doable. When I hear people say my income's too low, I can't afford to live, I always question that. I always go, or people are like, I live paycheck to paycheck, I can't get ahead. I kind of go, well, what are you cutting out? Like, what are you going through with a fine-tooth comb with and just kind of discarding? Like, what? And most people aren't really discarding things. When people, I know quite a few people like this who are on quite a high income and they're still saying they're living paycheck to paycheck. And to me, that's bizarre, because it's like, which we do know that is a thing. As your income rises, so does your spending. And it is called lifestyle inflation. So as the income goes up, the spending habits go up. So you can be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and you can still technically be living paycheck to paycheck if you're not careful. So this is not just a problem with people on a low income. This is a universal problem. This is an impulse control problem and people not really knowing how to save money properly. So let's get started on today's video on not only how I survive on below the Australian minimum wage, but how I also thrive on it and save money. So yeah, let's get started. So my first tip is plan out your week every single week. So every Sunday night I will, as you saw, my little planner on my fridge, I will just rub that all out and I will rewrite every single day what needs to be done daily. So this is a habit I kind of got into earlier in this year. I wasn't really doing it beforehand and I was kind of wasting days. I didn't really have a set plan for the day. It was kind of like, well, I'll just see what happens, and I wasn't having a very structured, scheduled time. So this was causing, well, not really issues, but I was just wasting a lot of time because my days were not organized, they weren't structured. And when I wasn't in regular employment earlier on this year, I was kind of, I had a lot of downtime. I had a lot of time to reflect. I had a lot of time to just kind of do what I wanted to do, but it wasn't structured, it wasn't routine. And as soon as I started planning my weeks out every single day, I noticed I was so much more productive and so much more, I guess, happier too, because I had something I had to do every single day and plan it out. And now coming back into regular employment, it's even more important because you need to know what you're doing day to day. So how this ties into saving money is if you don't have a set idea of what you're doing with your day, it's a lot easier to kind of overspend because you haven't really structured your day in a way where you know what you're doing. So anything can happen in your day if you don't have a set structure for things. So when you plan out your weeks, it's very helpful for saving money because you know what to expect, you know what you're doing, and you know you're not just going to like wander around aimlessly and just buy things because you're bored. I would highly recommend to just plan out your weeks every single Sunday night, write it all down, get it all ready, add to it as more things pop up, and just keep to that list, keep to that planner, and I can guarantee your productivity will go up. To continue the planning cycle, plan out your meals for the week. So me and my partner do a weekly shop every Wednesday, And what we have to do in advance is we'll sit down together and we'll plan out what we're going to eat for breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. And when my stepson is staying with us, we plan out what he'll be eating as well. But to save money with meal planning, you need to find things, in my opinion, that spread. Things that go further. Things you can freeze. Things you can make in bulk. Things like stews, soups, just bigger portions of things. At the moment, me and my partner are really into making a lot of curries. So we'll do slow cooked curries. We'll do big batches of like buttered chicken. We'll do, for his meal prep, he does a lot of kormas for his work. I'm fortunate my workplace provides lunch, so I don't have to worry about that expense, which is good. Breakfasts will usually always have a protein smoothie. So we'll buy protein powder when it's on special, and we'll buy it in bulk. So he'll meal prep his lunches on the Sunday evening and he'll get that all sorted, and I get lunches at work, which is good. And dinners, that is always the big one. So we'll just usually write down and figure out usually 3 meals that can stretch to last us 7 days. Meal prepping and planning for 7 days is, a lot of people find it quite tedious. I kind of find it fun. Maybe I'm a bit strange like that, but I like to know how the week's going to go. I don't like to be unprepared at around 5 p.m. and going, I don't know what to make for dinner. So to know in advance what you are going to make throughout the week, we usually shop at Coles, so we'll wait until the Wednesday morning when the specials turn over, and we'll kind of just see what's on special for that week and we'll shop accordingly. So if it's something that we eat a lot of and it's on special, we'll tend to buy more in bulk and usually freeze it, just to kind of save on costs in the future. So it's important to think about your future self as well, not just your current self, because our current self usually likes to just shop for what we're hungry for at that time. So our average weekly shopping bill combined is usually a bit under $200, which, for Australia is not bad. And we do eat a lot of meat, a lot of protein. So if we didn't eat much meat, I think we could cut it again. But for $200 for 2 people for a week in Australia is pretty good. As well as his son as well. So food is one of those things as well where we're happy to spend a little bit more money, because food is the thing that fuels us and keeps us healthy. So be smart about your shopping choices, but don't skimp on the cost. Like, I want to just reiterate this. Don't skimp on food quality to save a bit of money. Like, just because, packets of noodles are cheaper, chips actually aren't that cheap at the moment. Just those filler, sugary, salty, unhealthy things are generally cheaper than nutritious things. Just because those are cheaper, I wouldn't recommend just buying those things. Like, make sure you are spending a bit more money on the things that are actually going to fuel you and keep you full, things that are nutritious. Don't just skip on health to save a few dollars. But keep it simple. Like, keep your meals simple and you will be surprised how much money you will save. As soon as you start adding in all the extras, that's when it can get a little bit silly. Meal prep, cook in bulk, freeze what you don't eat. Meal prep lunches for work is a good one. Just be smart about your food choices. And usually just do one big shop a week if you can. If you need to run to the grocery store a couple of extra times throughout the week, it's usually not that big of a deal. But try to be as proactive and, aware as possible, and try to just get everything in one go so you don't have to keep running backwards and forwards. So that is my second tip. My third tip is a pretty general one where it's just delay gratification when you can. This is a brilliant way to save money because our brains are just constantly seeking stimulation, seeking dopamine, and if you can just push pause on that for a bit, just wait it out, feel it out. It's a great way to save money because as soon as you buy something, you get that little ding in the brain and you get a little bit happy for a little bit and you've got a new thing, and then it's over. The little excitement's over and the thing doesn't actually make you as happy as you thought it was going to, and then you forget all about it, and then you now need to fill this new void of I need a new thing, and the cycle repeats. We know how it goes. So delay gratification where you can. You don't need that thing right now. shop around, see what else is out there. Just, you know, be just aware. Be aware of, you know, advertising. Be aware of people trying to sell you things you don't need. But following into that is my fourth point of shop around and keep lists. So when you are doing shopping, know what you're going in for. Like, I keep a list of things that I do need to get at some point, but are not, you know, completely urgent. If it's urgent, then go get it. But most things are not that urgent, and you can wait it out, shop specials, and just see what's actually around. So I've got a little list in my phone of things that I do need to get at some point, things that, you know, I might want but don't need. So this can be a good idea for like birthday and Christmas presents. I'm very hard to buy for because I don't really want things, and this annoys the people around me because they want to get me things. So if you can think of something, people like to give, like a lot of people like to give, it's their love language. So even though it's not my love language, a lot of people do like it. It gives them a lot of joy. So if you can, even if you don't necessarily need that thing, just think about something you might actually want but you would never buy for yourself, and kind of recommend that to people if they really want to get you something. So yeah, for me as a minimalist, it's kind of just, yeah, birthdays and Christmas is not, you know, my birthday and Christmas is not my favourite time, but a lot of people love it and they like to give. So it's a tricky one. A lot of life is a bunch of grey areas, and yeah. But yes, keep lists of things that you might want in the future, big ticket items, and just things that, yeah, you do need to replace at some point, but not completely urgent. Another way to save money is to carry cash on you. So I know a lot of the world is going or trying to go as cashless as possible, and I absolutely hate that. You know, if you've watched my channel for a bit, you know that's not my vibe, that's not my thing. So I like to pay in cash where I can. I like to keep it in the economy. I like to keep it circulating. I think it's important. And I also think it's good to have a tangible means of exchange, because it's so easy to overspend on card, isn't it? It's so easy to just tap and, you know, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. When you're handing over cash, I believe we're a lot more mindful of how much we're actually spending, because we have an actual amount in our hand. It's a very different process, in my opinion. The brain, I think, views it and sees it differently, and we respond differently too. Like when I'm handing over cash, it feels like I can see how much I've earned, I can see how much this thing costs, and I'm also aware of the time it took to make that amount of money in my hands. When you just look at a bank account, it's all kind of jumbled. It's just a bunch of numbers. It doesn't really have the same visceral feeling or reaction as cold hard cash, in my opinion. And I think it's way easier to overspend. Like, you can see some numbers going down in your bank account, but to hand over cash, that just feels a bit more painful. It feels a bit more, I don't know, you're a lot more aware of how much you're giving, if that makes sense. So if you're someone who tends to overspend, I would highly recommend carrying cash on you and trying to pay in cash where possible. Another way that I save money is, as you know from my previous videos, is I don't drive. At the moment, I'm in the process of clocking up hours on my L's in case, you know, just emergency setting, I need to drive at some point. It's just smart to kind of have a license, but to own a car and be driving all the time, unless you live rurally and there's no other way for you to get around. In that case, I totally get that. That's fine. If it's completely impractical for you not to drive, 100% I understand. But if you're someone who lives in a city, in suburbia with good public transport, I don't really know what, like, apart from the convenience, and I don't really know why you would be driving. So I save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every year. So a bus fare for me is less than $1 to just get to where I need to go. To get to and from work every single week, I'm spending maybe $10 altogether. I'm saving so much money by not driving. That is all I'm saying. So if I lived more rurally, if I lived too far from work, of course I would need to drive. That is practical. As well as, you know, if you've got children, it can be impractical to catch public transport as well. It is completely possible. I've seen it done many a time by people, but I understand different phases of life and different circumstances don't always make public transport for everyone completely possible. So I'm saying that, like, I totally get that. But if you don't mind a little bit of friction, a little bit of inconvenience from time to time, at the benefit of saving a bunch of money, then yeah, public transport is the way to go, in my opinion. Another way to save money that I have noticed is when it comes to clothing, to have a sort of uniform. So I've found that since restarting back at work, I'm just constantly usually in work clothes, pajamas, or kind of sort of casual wear at home. So I basically have 3 different types of clothing now compared to just this big array of things. So I still have these things in my closet, but I'm looking at them frequently now and kind of going, I wasn't really wearing these before, but now I'm definitely not wearing these because they're not falling into, you know, I'm in my work clothes the majority of the week. When I'm sleeping, I'm in my pajamas, and kind of just random intermittent downtime, kind of just casual clothes. My wardrobe has become a lot more tailored and a lot more shrunk by default. It's just happened because that's a new phase of life. So to save money on clothing, just to sort of have that uniform, be aware of what you actually wear. Because when you're busy and you are working and you have all these things going on, you really realize what it is you actually wear day to day. We can kind of, if we've got a bunch of downtime, we can kind of forget what we're actually wearing. But when you're busy and you have a set uniform that you wear most days, you will notice what you're not wearing, which is everything else. So when you're actually fully aware of what your uniform day to day, week to week is, you'll save so much money because you realize you don't actually need all this excess stuff that's building up in case you might wear it one day, because high chance if you're busy, you're not really going to have the time. The things I do wear, I can literally look at them in my closet and they're just kind of pushed to one side. Like everything else, it's just, it's actually crazy. So I could technically get rid of everything else. I'm not quite at that stage yet, but you know, to be an extreme minimalist, I think would be quite an easy jump for me now, to just be like, well, I can actually see what I'm wearing and what I'm not wearing, and it's quite confronting. Now, my next point is to cut costs where you can. So this includes your living costs, power, rent, that sort of thing. So for me, I downloaded the app for my electricity provider because our bills were getting higher and higher and we couldn't figure out where they were going. It is winter here, so, you know, heating does go up, but we are very mindful of how much heating we use. So we downloaded the app and we can see exactly where it's going. So we know peak times, we know off times, we know if we want to, you know, use a bunch of power, to use it in the off times, like these sorts of things, to be way more mindful about our heating usage. So just, if you can find ways to figure out where your money is going in expenses that are, you know, non-negotiables, of course, you know, you need power. Yeah, just, you know, make it a little bit easier for yourself and be able to like monitor and see where it's all going. So that's one thing. Rent's another one, and I know rent is ridiculously high at the moment. Rent is stupid. But if you can get cheap accommodation, or cheap as possible, I would recommend, you know, looking for roommates, you know, if you don't have a partner, or, you know, cutting costs, splitting costs with your partner. Don't just go for the ritziest place because it looks the nicest. Like, try to find somewhere that is well within your means and you're not spending extra money on it. I very much believe the advice of find the rundown house in the good neighborhood, whereas a lot of people kind of go for the nicer house in the rundown neighborhood, and I don't think that ever ends well. So the place we're in currently, it is in a really good area, but it is definitely the ugliest house on the street, and you know, that's just how it is. I don't particularly care. It's just an appearance at the end of the day, and the house does its job, and we're getting cheaper rent than the rest of the street. So the big main non-negotiable expenses, try to cut them where you can. If you've got options, then, you know, switch to a different electricity provider if that's possible and it's cheaper. rethink housing. There are heaps of different options, and depending on what your goals are, it's totally possible to lower expenses. And following into that are, what are your goals and why? Because this can be a huge motivator for saving money. If you don't really have a why, it's very hard to get motivated and stay motivated to save money, because it's like, well, what's the point? Like, you know, if you don't have something you are aiming towards or something you want, it's easier to spend the money because you're not driven, there's no point to hang on to money that, you know, you don't know what you're going to use it for, is there? Know your why. Know why you want to save that money. Know what your goals are, your ambitions. So for me, I'm saving to buy a place. That to me is a big goal, and it is a big motivator for me. And I used to always think I'd never be able to own a home because, oh, you know, I'll never make enough money, or, you know, prices are too high, all these things. But I realised I was just kind of selling myself short and just kind of giving up before I'd even begun. I think there's a big push, particularly with like millennials and Gen Z at the moment, where it's very, you can't do it because, you know, houses aren't like $1,000 anymore. Houses, you know, you're getting outpriced out of the market. And houses are super expensive, don't get me wrong. But you can still find cheap enough places in areas that are a bit further away. You know, a house that's a bit more run down, it can, you know, you can do it up a bit. Like, there are options, but because we keep getting told all the time we're getting priced out of the housing market, people just go, well, I guess I'm never going to own a home, and they just give up early. And I used to be like that until I realized I actually have a lot more say in that than I realized. I can choose to save money. I can choose what to cut out of my life to save that money to buy that home. But that's the thing. It comes at a cost. It comes at a sacrifice. And most people don't want to make that sacrifice. They don't want to give something up to get something. They just want both. And you generally can't have both. To get somewhere in life and to get something in life, you need to give up other things. Let's say you want to be a millionaire. Well, guess what you're giving up? You're giving up social time, you're giving up family life, you're giving up hobbies, you're giving up all these things to get to this goal, to be a millionaire by a certain age, let's say. So to make that possible, yes, you'll become a millionaire, but you'll be giving up all these other things. And you usually can't have it both ways. You usually have to give something up to get something. Know what your why is, know what your goal is, and put your time and your energy towards working towards that thing. And my last point to saving money is know what your values are. And in this I mean value people over things. Once you change your perspective over what is important in your life, by default you'll be saving money. Just hear me out. So the more you value people, the more quality time you want to spend with people. Quality time with people it can be a completely free activity because you are getting invested in the other person and you're spending time together. You don't necessarily need to be spending money or be doing something to have that connection and that quality time with that person. Of course you can go to a restaurant, you can spend hundreds of dollars, you can do all these things. But at the same time, you can just go for a walk together, you can have a chat, you can make coffee at home, you can do these things that are basically free or very cheap. Know the value of quality time with people you love over things, because I often think we buy things to fill that void. If we're lonely or we're depressed or we're sad, or if we don't feel like we have anyone we can rely on, oftentimes we'll fill that void with stuff. Because that stuff is something that gives us instant dopamine. It's something that we think can, make us feel a certain way, make us feel something we're missing. We're trying to fill a hole, we're trying to fill a void. And I think a lot of the world is very lonely, particularly in this generation. I think we have a big loneliness epidemic going on, and I think people are genuinely disconnected. I think we feel very disconnected from other people. I think because we're always on our phones, we're always online. It's just this space that's happened. It's this very disconcerting absence of people. Even though we're just talking to people online, we're not really connecting with them. They're little avatars on a screen and we're just typing little words in a text bubble. Like, we're not connecting with people the way we should be. We're not in person connecting with people anywhere near as much as we used to. And you'll have different social needs. Some people are extroverts and they need a lot of people time. A lot of people are introverts and don't need much. I'm an introvert, my social battery is quite low, but the time I do spend with the people I love and care about recharges me. Like, I love to be around the people I care about, and that to me is way more important than just having stuff around. Even though my social battery is low and I am an introvert, I would still much rather spend time with the people I care about than just go online, shop, buy some things, and then go, that didn't fulfill me at all. It's just an endless cycle. But yes, you can definitely save money if you know what your values are and what it is you truly care about, because once you feel whole, you don't need to keep adding into this feeling of despair. You don't need to keep adding into what you think is missing, because you'll realize nothing's actually missing. You feel whole, you feel complete, and the connections that you have are meaningful and real. So if you do feel lonely and you do have a spending problem, reach out to people, meet new people. It's uncomfortable, of course it is, but at the same time it is so valuable. Like, we need people. This is coming from someone who, you know, swore black and blue for years that I did not need people, because I'm like, well, I can survive fine by myself. And I am someone who could technically run off into the wilderness and survive fine for years. But there still would be that crucial element of loss and this feeling of disconnect. As much as I don't need that much time with people, the time that I do spend with people I care about is so meaningful to me. And I think people need people, regardless of what your social needs actually are. So just knowing that, and knowing that once you feel complete and whole, you don't need all this outside excess stuff. I just wanted to talk about 10 things that, help me save money every single month on below minimum wage in Australia. So while my income changes week to week, I've kind of worked out that with how much I save per month, I should, at the minimum, save about $15,000 within a year. My goal is 18,000, but we'll see how we go. I'm not just going to cut everything out to reach 18. I would be happy with 15,000, because I think my savings last year was around, I think I saved over $8,000 with below minimum wage income. And this year I think I can do better. I think I can double it. So it's completely possible. People say you can't save money on a low income. They're full of it. Like, of course different things come in and, life happens, but you just need to be prepared and willing to give up something in order to gain something else. You have to sacrifice something to get to where you want to go. You can't have it both ways. I'm sorry, but that is the truth. So if saving money is important to you and you want to reach your goals, then you will find ways to do it, and you will find that, you will cut out the excess noise and you will focus on what is truly meaningful and valuable to you. So yes, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!